So I want to introduce Governor Schwarzenegger, and I want to lighten the moment for a second. As I indicated at the beginning, we share a lot in common. Probably the only thing we disagreed over was who should have won that recall election, but we have a lot of, but we're beyond that. And as I said, we've done a lot of things together. I want to just tell you what a good person he is. So this is 2 or 3 months after the recall, and he calls me up about 3 in the afternoon. He says, "What are you doing tonight?" And I said, "I'm not doing anything tonight." He says, "Oh, yes, you are. You're going to be on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno and me." And Jay Leno is going to be interviewing me, and about halfway through that interview, you're going to walk on stage unannounced, and the first question Jay Leno is going to ask you is, "How is Arnold doing?" And you're going to respond, "He's doing a hell of a lot better than he did in Hercules in New York." And there was about 6 lines that Arnold gave me, every one of which got a laugh. I had no idea what he was going to wear, but we turned out wearing, both blue shirts, no tie. So one caption was the twins on Tonight Show. So there are many policy issues where I proudly stand with him. There are a few I don't. But in today's world, if you can find some common ground, much less common ground on most issues, then you should find ways to work together with your fellow human beings. That's how we solve problems. Arnold shares that view, and I share that view. Please welcome to the stage the 38th Governor of California, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Well, thank you very much, Governor Davis, for the wonderful introduction. It's exactly the way I wrote it. Exactly. Well, I think that a lot of politicians in Washington and I think across this country, they can really learn from our friendship and from us working together. Because here we were, like you said, in 2003 where we ran against each other. But the day after that, we became friends. And the day after that, I saw what kind of a person you really were because you offered me your help. And ever since then, when I was governor, from 2003 on, you were always there in helping, always. And you have been very supportive of the Schwarzenegger Institute and of me. And you've been there endless amount of times for us, so I really appreciate you lending your voice also to this very important issue. So let's give a big hand to Governor Davis. I also want to say thank you very much to Secretary Carson for being here today with us. I mean, this is an enormous crisis when you talk about homelessness. And when you have an enormous crisis, you need everyone to come together. This crisis will require the cooperation of the federal government, the state government, and local governments, right along with the private sector and the nonprofit sector. So that it was very important for me that you came out here today and joined us. And I know that you had already a whole bunch of things on your schedule for today. But you promised me on the phone that you will move things around and you will try your best. And you did. And I really appreciate that, and it just shows, I think, to me and to everyone, your love for solving this issue, this crisis, and your love for our city and for our state. So thank you very much. A big hand to Secretary Carson. I also want to say thank you to a lot of people here. I'm not going to mention everyone's name, but I do want to say Professor Gary Painter, thank you very much. You represent the Center for Social Innovation. Thank you for being here today and helping us here. You're an expert in this issue. And then Dean Knott, thank you very much for your great presentation, your great speech, and for always supporting us. Senator Murray, where's Senator Murray? Right over here. You've done a great job so far emceeing. And you've been a great senator and a great, great friend. You know, this guy, before he got into politics, was an agent at the William Morris Agency. And can I say who you signed on just before you became a senator? Lady Gaga, he signed on to the agency. So he's a big shot. He's a big shot, so thank you very much. And he's an expert also about the homeless issue. So let's give him a big hand also. Thank you. I want to say thank you to all the other elected officials. You know, we have mayors here, and we have state officials, city officials, and the people from the private sector, and so on and so forth. But I just also want to say, Daryl, it was great to have you over yesterday at the House. This is Mayor Daryl Steinberg right here in the front. And we worked together in Sacramento for years and years and years. He was kind of my partner on the Democratic side, and I had my Republican partners, but it was great always working with you. And yesterday it was great to have you over there for a cigar and for some vegan food. He came over, he wanted to have a steak. I said, no, we only have vegan food. But anyway, so it was great to have you over there. So thank you very much also for being here today and your support. And I know you're doing a great job up there in Sacramento. Thank you very much. Thank you. And then a big, big thank you also to Mayor Faulkner. He has come up extra just a few weeks ago to my office and talked to me a lot about the things that you're doing down in San Diego. And I think that was one of the inspirational things for me to have this conference here. So thank you very much for all the great work you're doing. Thank you very much. I think there's no one that will argue with me about this, that California is, without any doubt, the most beautiful place in this country. We are the biggest and the best economy also in this country. As a matter of fact, if California will be a nation, we will be the 5th largest economy in the world. Do you know that? I mean, right behind the United States, Germany, China, and Japan. 5th largest economy. And we are the home of innovation, of Apple, of Tesla, Twitter, Facebook, and the list goes on and on and on. California is without any doubt what I always call the golden dream by the sea. But that does not mean that we are perfect. That does not mean we don't have problems. As a matter of fact, our homeless problem has become a crisis. And it requires immediate attention. I mean, anyone who has driven California streets from San Francisco to Los Angeles to the Central Valley has seen the evidence in tent cities and encampments. Our growth and our prosperity and this economic power that I just talked about earlier has left too many of our citizens behind. There are, if you think about this, over 150,000 people in our state that are considered homeless. Over 150,000. For them, the golden dream is out of reach. And that is unacceptable. I mean, if you look at the statistics, that 1/4 of the people in California know someone that is homeless. And almost 40% of the people feel that they're afraid that they or someone in their family will become homeless. So those numbers are staggering. It is a crisis. We can do better, and we must do better. Now here's the interesting thing. When I was governor, we were hit by a global recession and by a housing crisis. But our problem was keeping people in their homes rather than creating homes for them. We used every policy that we could to try to prevent foreclosures. And it was an uphill battle. I will always remember touring that city, the tent city in Sacramento. It had become a symbol of the housing crisis for the entire country. It spent months in the national headlines. Fox, MSNBC, CNN, the New York Times, everyone did stories about it. We as a state, we worked together with the city to open up state fairgrounds as a safer place for the people staying there. And at that time, here's the amazing thing, at that time, it was shocking for us that 200 people would live in tents in a major American city. Look at now. Now the national camera crews wouldn't even know where to begin. We have tent cities in every major city in California. I mean, I watched the crisis grow through the media and through our institute, and also driving my bike every morning through Venice to Gord's gym to get a little pump. And all of a sudden, I see the tents popping up. And now Gold's Gym is surrounded by tents and by homeless people. That didn't happen a few years ago. I know that this problem can feel too big to solve. The web of issues that created our crisis can feel too complicated to untangle. I mean, there's the mental health issue, there's the addiction issue, and there's the affordable housing issue, there are the legal issues, and then there are the city laws and the state laws and the federal laws, and the list goes on. It's a very, very complicated issue. But today, we will try to untangle that web so that we can see the problem more clearly. We will hear from experts and academics. We will hear from policymakers and builders, from nonprofits and business leaders. We will hear from a whole bunch of people here that are experts in this issue. We will learn about this complicated crisis together. Now, but here at the Schwarzenegger Institute, the great thing is, and we're very proud of that it's not just an idea institute, but it's also an action institute. But what do you expect from someone that comes from action movies, right? Let's be honest. So we will not only hear about the problems, but we will learn about the potential solutions. We will not only debate, but we will build consensus. And after that, we will do something about it. Now, at every Schwarzenegger Institute event, we always reserve seats for the students. And so I'm very happy to say that today, more than 120 students showed up. So let's give them a big, big hand for that. Because this is what this is all about, for them to learn firsthand. I want them to learn more than just theories. I want them to learn how policies become a reality and how they can solve any problem and how they can change the world. See, I don't want them to just leave USC filled with ideas from books, but hopeless that nothing ever gets done or can get done and unsure of where to start. So what I'm basically saying is there's a lot of pressure on the panelists and on the speakers here today to give those students hope and to show them true action. I mean, we all know this isn't that easy to fix. There's no quick fix on this. That any solution will require also compromise. Any long-term solution would demand a commitment to give up the selfish no-growth movements that have artificially limited our housing supply. And any short-term solution would demand bridge shelters, counseling, and enforcement of quality of life codes. But I want to be clear about one thing. Any solution also demands compassion. That's right, compassion. I mean, it's very easy to look at the crisis and to just see the tents and to be outraged at the plight of our sidewalks. We must remember that inside those tents are people. Some need mental health treatment, some need addiction treatment, and many of them have just simply been priced out of our soaring housing market. And this really hit home when I just recently saw a piece on 60 Minutes about homelessness in Seattle. I mean, we all have our prejudice about the homeless. I mean, if they would just get a job, they wouldn't be homeless and all those kind of things. But it's not that black and white. There was a woman, for instance, on the 60 Minutes piece that was a mail carrier for the US Postal Service who lived in her car because she couldn't afford her apartment. And I was absolutely shocked when I saw that. Because you see, when I came to America, when I moved here, one of my first friends who actually picked me up at the airport was a postal worker who also was a bodybuilder and who taught me some English in the beginning and translated for me when we watched movies. We played chess together. His name was Arizella. But he was never even close to being homeless. He was solidly middle class, living the California dream. He lived right in Santa Monica near the beach. He had a 2-bedroom apartment, paid $280 at that time, made $1,400 a month. And he lived wonderfully. He even had some extra money for investing in stocks. Seeing that homeless postal worker on television who couldn't afford an apartment in Seattle was a brutal reminder that the dream of being a middle class in America is slowly slipping away. Now, as we hear the statistics today, remember the people behind those statistics. We might not want those tents on our sidewalks, but I promise you, I don't think they want to stay in those tents either. They're our neighbors. They're our fellow Californians. We can do better for them and for all of us. But it would require putting selfishness and partisan pickering aside and sitting down and working together until we find the solution that actually works. Now, anyone that knows me knows that I'm an eternal optimist. And this is why I know that we have overcome much bigger problems than this in our history of our state and our country. And that's why I know that we can also overcome this crisis. And this is why I know that we can make our economy work again for everyone. And ladies and gentlemen, I know that California can be the golden dream by the sea once again for everyone. Thank you very much. Let's do it.
Bigger round of applause for Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's why he's Arnold.